Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a special edition of the JP Peterson Show here, as we are going to look at the state of the Tampa Bay Lightning as they enter next season, the 23-24 season, and also look back on some of the greatest moments in Lightning history, some of the worst moments in Lightning history, some of the funny moments in Lightning history, all that good stuff with my partner from On3 Sports, Nick Geddes, who is grown up in Tampa Bay, watching his Tampa Bay Lightning win 3 Stanley Cups before the Toronto Maple Leafs can win anything, and a lot of other teams as well. It's been an incredible ride. I got here in 1997 and started covering the Lightning, and had not really covered a lot of hockey in my career, quite frankly. But now here I am entering my 8th year working for the Tampa Bay Lightning as their intermission and pregame host on the Jumbotron, and I can tell you it has been nothing short of the greatest job I've ever had. The folks I get to work with, the first-class organization that I get to work with, and to see the success and how it's been built from the inside out is a rare opportunity in our business, and something I do not take lightly, and certainly would say is one of the highlights of my career, if not the pinnacle. It's been fun working for the Lightning. So I come into this show quite biased, and that is my disclaimer. But I've had a front row seat at some of the greatest moments in this team's history, so hopefully I'll be able to share some of that knowledge with you today. And Nick will be able to share some of his knowledge more as a fan growing up and watching this team. And we hope you enjoy the next hour of the Tampa Bay Lightning. We're going to look forward to what's going on with the team this year, and I think it's probably safe to say, Nick, that this has probably been – I mean, last year, obviously they had to lose some players off that Stanley Cup team. But I think, this year you're losing a couple of guys, especially in Pat Maroon and Alex Killorn, who have been not only mainstays on this team, but mainstays in the community, and 2 of the most popular players this franchise has ever had. But as I've said on this show, there's no room for sentimentality in professional sports, especially when you have a salary cap. You cannot pay for past performance or past loyalty. That's just the business of it, and it sucks sometimes for fans. It sucks for teammates, but the game must go on, and this game will go on without these 2 very popular players for the Lightning. And I think, frankly, they'll be a better team for it. It hurts to say it, but they'll be a better team for it.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll be honest with you. I mean, every offseason has become very tough, the last 3 of them, I'd say. But I almost feel like, Ross Colton, Alex Killorn, Pat Maroon, the big 3 that are no longer here, I actually don't think this is as bad as it was after 2021 and after 2022. The feeling I had of the players we lost, if that's fair. I know Killorn might have been the biggest fan favorite, but go back to 2021, we lost Barclay Goodrow, we lost Blake Coleman, we lost Yanni Gourde. You go to the next year, we lost Andre Palat, and we lost Ryan McDonough. And now this year it's Killorn, who is older than those players and was going to be more expensive, right? So it's a little bit – I think that one's a little easier to swallow. And then Maroon, I think we were okay with them moving on from Pat Maroon. I don't think – honestly, besides the fact that he's a great locker room guy, you want to have him on your bench and stuff like that. I think from a straight playing standpoint, you could see the end is near, I think, for Pat Maroon. I think that's fair. And then Ross Colton was just a move they had to make because they just had no chance to sign it to an extension. And I don't think he was ever really part of the true core of this team. Right. So I actually don't think this offseason is as bad as it's been, like from a sentimental standpoint. I don't think it's been the worst of the last 3.
I guess if you look at it collectively, it's been
collectively it's an anvil. It's an anvil. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, boy, when you start looking at those pictures, I saw one the other day where somebody blacked out all the players that have left, and there's only 8 players left from that 2021 Stanley Cup team. That's a lot.
It's crazy.
That's a lot. But it also is arguably the best core of players in hockey. So you can say from at least from a competitive standpoint, the Lightning still have a shot. I'm not going to sit here and say this year's team is better than either of those Stanley Cup teams. I'm not. I think it could be better than last year's team. I think it could be better than last year's team. I think this team last year, number one, was to me first and foremost, and maybe 1, 2, 3 on the list of why they failed to win a cup is exhaustion, exhaustion, and exhaustion. It's just too much hockey to play in a 3-year span that was compressed anyway because of COVID. It's just not possible for human beings to continue to operate at that level and play 105 games. I mean, they've literally played an extra season of hockey in the past 3 years, and it's intense playoff level hockey, which is different than regular season hockey. So I think it was just a matter of time before this team just stopped being able to play at that level. Other teams are hungrier. It's just the nature of the beast. So I expect this team to come back hungry. I think they'll be a faster team. I think they'll be harder to play against in terms of the physicality of some of the players that they've added. They'll be faster, as I mentioned. I think they have a chance to be better. I don't know that. We'll see how it all comes together, but I think they have a chance.
And you've heard the reports. I mean, we just had the Lightning development camp, and it sounds like 3 guys, Kucherov, Point, and Vasilevsky, have been in there very frequently since the season ended. So we talked about the fact that they're getting this rest, and obviously, practicing on the ice is nothing compared to playing Stanley Cup playoff hockey. I understand. But this team, to me, we talked a lot about, they have 2 cups, and there's the opportunity to just say, well, yeah, we won 2. It's okay. If we don't win anything else, we're good. This team has a different mentality as far as I'm concerned. They got the taste of winning 2 times in a row and going to 3. And, we've talked about it at length. They're a Braden Point injury away from potentially being 3-time Cup champions in a row, something that hasn't been done in a long, long time. So I think last year pissed them off. I think they know that there's another level to their game that they can get to, and they're taking it personally. Kind of like how the Bucks are doing it, albeit in a completely different situation where they're trying to prove that, we're more than just Tom Brady. And, we got good players on this team. I think the Lightning are trying to prove that, we also have, like you said, perhaps the best core in hockey is still here. And we know how good we played in that Toronto series. We showed that we still got it. And we're going to come back this year refreshed, and they're going to have a different mentality.
I believe so. And, we've talked about this many, many times. As Vasilevsky goes, so go the Lightning, right? And I think we noticed from the very beginning of this season that Vasi just wasn't Vasi. And then we found out after the season that he admitted, 20, 30 games in, that he was just done. He was not done, but really, really feeling the effects of the last few seasons. And, the difference between being a really good goalie and an elite goalie is about that much, right? And it's that focus, that energy, and just being locked in. And he just didn't seem as locked in as he was. Now, I'm not laying everything at the feet of Vasilevsky. That's not what I'm doing. I mean, this team had defensive issues last year. There's no question about it. And I don't lay them at the feet of necessarily the defensemen. I just think as a team, they did not play the defense that you had seen prior in them winning Stanley Cups. There was too much open ice. There were too many odd man rushes. There was not taking care of the front of your net. It was just, there wasn't the defensive intensity that we had seen in years past. And I think in the end, that's what really caught up with them. And I think part of that is exhaustion, because what is defense? It's energy and effort for the most part. Yeah, you got to work your game plan. But when you see the lazy turnovers that lead to goals, when you see guys left wide open, it's just, to me, that's mental focus, lack of mental focus, lack of mental energy, not, back checking enough and giving that energy. And that, to me, is just the accumulation of 3 finals runs.
Yeah, it just all year it was clear that the Lightning, there was something missing with that team. It was a little off. Even like star players getting benched in Buffalo, I believe it was. The game against Carolina where they got outshot by 30-something shots. It was just that might have been the hardest Lightning game to watch probably through this entire run. And then in the playoffs, to your point, I think, we talk a lot about the defense and some of the guys they lost there, but I think the back checking and some of the defense from your forward group is what really, really did this team in from a defensive standpoint. And I think a lot of that had to come down to the fact that their bottom 6 did not have a lot of speed into it, and those guys were just clearly gassed. And you look at the additions they made, I think they have guys now that can do it. And I think if you join this Lightning team, in any given situation, I think you could almost score 20 goals all of a sudden out of nowhere. And that's why I think the Connor Sheary deal, who's going to be around here for 3 years, Julian Breezeball, smartly getting that done for a $2 million AAV. You put him on the top line, you put him on the second line, that guy's going to score 20-plus goals this year for the Lightning.
Yeah.
I feel pretty confident saying that, and he's going to kind of take some of that burden away from the loss of Alex Killorn.
Yeah, we had Eric Erlinson on, and he talked about Sheary playing with Alex Ovechkin and also playing with Sidney Crosby. So he knows how to play with top talent like Kucherov, like Stamkos. And he kind of likened Stamkos more to Ovechkin because Stamkos is such a deadly shooter. And Connor Sheary knows how to set him up. So that might be, will we see him on the top line? Will we see him on the second line? How do these top six forwards shake out without Killorn now? We'll see. And I think that'll be a work in progress for Cooper and see how they mesh well.
Yeah, and then you still have the if you keep the top line together, that it oftentimes I think was great for them, the Kucherov, Point, and Hagel. Mm-hmm. I still think that's as good of a line in hockey if that's what they're going to go with. And also, too, we haven't even mentioned Victor Hedman yet, who clearly was not 100% at all last year at any point.
Exactly.
I mean, and that showed. And I know Victor's he's not a young pup anymore by any means, and I hope that this isn't the start of, the decline of Victor Hedman. But let's be real. I mean, he didn't run the first power play unit. I think a lot of that came down to the fact, and I think you had brought this up through the season, that potentially there's just not enough, oomph in that shot right there last year. And maybe that's why he wasn't on that first power play unit. So maybe we get that working again, and he becomes the dominant defenseman as well that we have grown accustomed to seeing, because I think his success goes hand in hand with Vasilevsky in determining this team's fate.
Yeah, I agree. Breezeball was able to bring all these guys in on like $7.5 million of cap space that he had. So I think he did a fantastic job. Got Luke Glendening, who will probably be a third or fourth line center. And he is a tremendous faceoff guy. I think he won 59% of his faceoffs last year. And that's something that the Lightning really, really needed. And especially that Toronto series, you just remember them just not being able to control the puck in those key defensive or offensive zones when you're on the power play. It seemed like they would win all the big faceoffs, and the puck's down the ice when you have a power play trying to tie things up. And that's another 15, 20, 30 seconds if you can get it in the zone, which they weren't very good at. So I think Glendening is a good addition. Josh Archibald as a guy on the bottom six that's going to give you more speed, more tenacity, more fight. And I just think overall, I think that's what Breezeball really wanted to see, is to get this team faster and be harder to play against with that bottom six. So
Yeah, I was going to say Glendening in particular, I almost view him as the direct replacement for Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. Yeah. And obviously, I think he's like, 5 or 6 years younger than Bellemare, so there's some added speed level. He's not going to put the puck in the back of the net. He's only had 6 points total in 70 games this year for Dallas, if you can believe it. He's not going to do that, but he's going to win faceoffs. He's going to go on the penalty kill. I've looked at his track record. There's been 3 years throughout his career that he's actually gotten Selke votes for being, which is the award that goes to the best defensive forward in hockey. So he does all those good things, and you got him for super, super cheap. I think that's the theme here is, regardless of what they lost, with what they had to work with, I think Julian Breezeball on the surface, it looks like he did as good of a job as possible in plugging some of these holes. And now we wait for Tanner Jeannot is really the last domino here, which he's taken them to arbitration, and we'll see what that number comes in at.
Yeah, and he's not going anywhere. I think he's. If I look at guys that need to step up this year, and of course I'm going to start with number one is Nick Paul. Nick Paul has to take the next step in his maturation. He's got to get to that 20. We talk about 20 goals. He's been there before. We need 25 to 30 out of Nick Paul. He can be a dominant. I kind of see him not as nasty, but he could be a Tom Wilson type of player where he can be physical. He can be monstrous on the forecheck. He skates really well. He's got skill. At times, I just feel like he leaves it to Kucherov and Stamkos and some of these other guys, Killorn at the time, and doesn't take ownership the way he should. I think he can be a much more dominant player if he just sees himself in that role. And I think that's what the Lightning want to push him to be. Because I think he can be that. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the the skill. It's just a matter of want to for him. So he's number one. And Tanner Jeannot is number two. That's another guy that I think needs to step up and hit the 20-goal mark like he did as a rookie and provide that great forecheck, that physicality. And I think that those two guys, to me, really need to step up.
Yeah, Nick Paul. I mean, it's the big question is what happened to Nick Paul last season. Completely disappeared in the second half. I mean, he went a huge stretch of the season where he only had scored one goal, just like he couldn't buy one. It didn't really come in the playoffs either, so you could throw him in there as guys who need to step up. Tanner Jeannot. I don't think Tanner Jeannot, if you look at the numbers when he scored 24 goals in Nashville, there was a lot of he scored at an elite rate efficiently, I believe, compared to the amount of shots he took, and it was kind of viewed as unsustainable. Right. And I think you saw him come back down to earth this past year in Nashville in a very mediocre team. And then, as is the case with a lot of these guys, I mean, we remember Brandon Hagel and Nick Paul didn't light it on fire, especially Hagel when they got here. It's kind of an awkward. He got hurt at the end of the year. So many misconceptions. He wasn't healthy scratched in the playoffs. Okay, that's a false narrative. It was lucky he even made it back in time, and he just could not be anywhere near what they needed to be to beat Toronto. Right. So you get him for a full season. I think he should be better. I mean, Anthony Cirelli's another one where, again, kind of an odd season for him where he came in late because of the injury. And I don't think Anthony Cirelli had the offensive season that you wanted from him last year. Great. And I don't think he was as good as a defensive forward. I mean, the year prior, he finished fifth in the Selke voting. And last year, I don't know if he even got any votes. So I expect another big jump from him as well, especially with his extension kicking in.
Yeah, and you look at, Braden Point, I think, with the 50-goal season, I think he put himself on the map nationally, whereas I think we've regarded him as, at least I have. I think I said before the season, and you scoffed at me.
I did scoff.
I think he's a top 5 player in this league.
I'm still scoffing at that. But.
Okay, I'm going to stand by it. I think because he will play 200 feet, because he's won stuff, and a lot of these other guys that you put in the top 5 have not won anything besides individual awards. So that's why I put Braden Point, because of his leadership, because of the big-time goals that he scores, overtime goals in playoffs. And he had a hell of a year, and I still think there's room for him to grow. In his game. So you look at this team and say Kucherov obviously is, he's been that MVP. He's been that guy. I think Point can be that guy. I really do. I think Stamkos has had his past 2 seasons have been 2 of his best. I don't expect him to take a step up, but I think he's going to be there with his leadership. It's the final year of his contract, so maybe there's a little bit of motivation there. But I don't see any fall off from him. He is, last year with all the accolades, the 500th goal, the 1,000 points, 1,000 game, all that stuff. I just don't see him like in retirement mode. I see him as in go mode, and the way this team talks, they're very serious about getting back and winning another cup. And because I think, and when you talk about, and as we're going to kind of in our next segment go into the history and the great moments and relive. We got some great sound to play for you. I got some old Channel 8 stuff from Game 7 we're going to give you. So don't go anywhere. We're going to have a lot of fun with this hour. But I think this team rightly sees itself as I think if you look at the modern game, you could call the Lightning a dynasty. Having gone to 3 straight finals, 5 finals in the last 10 years, 11 years. I mean, their numbers, especially the last 6 years, are off the charts as far as consistency. You look at the rest of the league, and the Blues win the Stanley Cup. They don't even make the playoffs the next year. Nobody's won a playoff series after winning a cup in the last, I think, 10, 15 years, except the Tampa Bay Lightning. So you could argue right now that they're a, quote, dynasty, but you get 1 more or 2 more cups, which I think they're capable of getting, then there's no question. There's no debate whatsoever.
They got to win a third. I think they got to win a third to get it done, but it doesn't take any away from how impressive it is to go to 4 in a span of, 8 seasons, I think it is.
That's
going back to 2015. In the salary cap era, I think it's as close. And, you look at what happened. I've been talking a lot about Pittsburgh because I'm drawing parallels to – I don't want the Lightning to become that at some point. They're not close to that by any means. But Pittsburgh won their 2 cups in 16 and 17. and then they've completely just gone no-show since. I don't think they've won a playoff series since 2017, actually.
Yeah.
The Lightning are not that. I know they went home in the first round, but as we've been saying and as we said at the time, that was not your typical team that got knocked out in the first round,
Right.
nor performance. There was just things kind of, bad bounces and
They were the better team.
playoff hockey. They were the better team in that
They were the
series, and
better team.
I'll stand by it.
By every metric you look at, the advanced metrics and game stats, analytics, the Lightning were the better team. But listen, you tip your cap to Toronto. They got it done. They forgot that there was a second round or third round, even a playoffs. So they weren't around for long. But, and as I look at the Toronto team, I don't think they got better in the offseason. Florida, I think they found themselves in the second half of the season. I think they're going to be a tough team to play against. Boston, I think I don't expect them to be back in the form that they were this year. So I don't think there's a dominant team out there. You like Carolina. I think you like Carolina this next season.
Well, not particularly. I like Carolina, but my question with them is, can they score enough?
Yeah.
I think defensively, I know that Carolina could do it. And I know there's rumblings right now. They're trying to bring in Tarasenko, but Tarasenko, to me, he's aging. He's had injury history. He's coming off a really down season for his standards with St. Louis and New York, which I never thought was a good fit for him. So I don't know how Carolina takes the jump. But like I said last week on the show, the East is getting better. But I think it's more on the metropolitan side. I mean, if you view the Atlantic, you said I don't think Toronto got better. I think Toronto got substantially worse, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Their moves, to me, I just can't really – I don't think they made much sense. I think they did get worse. I don't see what they added there. And I think there's too much – after what happened last year to them in the second round, even though they won that playoff series – I mean, there's all these rumblings. There's like a portion of the fan base that wants to move on from Matthews. There's a portion of the fan base that says that's crazy. Somebody's got to go. They can't build a true complete team, I don't think, right now with 4 guys taking up 50+% of their payroll. Mm-hmm. I'm just not a Toronto believer. Not a Toronto believer right now. I think Boston takes a step back, and then you kind of look towards some of the other teams. Like a Buffalo and like a Detroit and Ottawa, Montreal, or any of those teams going to take the steps forward.
Buffalo's made some moves.
Buffalo looks like they're right there. Like they're I think I made the comparison. They're the Detroit Lions of the NHL right now. Mm-hmm. But we've seen teams before get hyped up and then they don't exactly take that leap. So do I have faith in Buffalo?
Rangers?
Oh, I think the Rangers are a lot better than what they showed last year.
Yeah,
I think trying to add 2 huge players like that, Kane and Tarasenko at that time, I think it tanked their team chemistry on the ice. Yeah. I don't think they actually fit what they're trying to do. It's still a really young team with some veteran players who have done it for a while, like Panarin and Zibanejad there and Kreider. So I think New York's going to be a lot better. And similar to the Lightning, they go as Shesterkin goes.
Yep.
And I think Shesterkin wasn't as dominant last year as he was the year prior to that. So New York's definitely going to be a player for sure.
I think a lot of people, including yourself, look out west and see Colorado as the team to beat, and we'll see. I think Vegas is a good team. Obviously, we saw what they did in winning the Cup, but I don't. Okay, let's see how they bounce back. Let's see if they have the energy and the enthusiasm to come back next year and play at a high level and advance in the playoffs like the Lightning did. I think from a personnel standpoint, is Aiden Hill, they're paying him $4 million a year now. Is he gonna? He came out of nowhere. Is he gonna be the guy for a whole season when all the pressure's on him? We'll see.
Yeah, I still think Edmonton's another trendy one. I think everybody's waiting on that core to kind of punch through finally. But again, what is around them?
Giving up 7 and 8 goals, in 3 of the games of your series, and think you're a serious contender. If I've learned anything from John Cooper, those aren't the teams that win Stanley Cups.
No, they to me seem like they're a great regular season team. They're a lot of fun. And I say that, I mean, they got to a conference final the year prior, and then they just ran into a buzzsaw, which was known as Colorado. But I think the way it ended last year was really disappointing. A lot of people were just saying it was going to be Edmonton and Boston in the final, but I don't know. I don't see it. That's not how hockey works. But yeah, the West is a little bit to me, easier to forecast. I think Colorado, I'll stand by that.
Yeah.
I think it's the class of the West right now.
All right, so that's how we see the Lightning this year coming up. But we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to go back into the Wayback Machine and enjoy our top 5 moments in Lightning history. We're going to take you back to some interesting moments in my career at Channel 8 as I interviewed Dave Andreychuk and Game 7 after he won the Cup and skated with the Cup. You'll hear from Nikolai Hobby-Bulin as well. So we'll have some fun with this. Sit back, relax. Quick break here. We want to thank all of our sponsors, the Jeeves Law Group. We'll give you the personal attention you deserve in those accident cases. Bay Area Modern Medical Center, if you're looking for testosterone replacement therapy or weight loss, great folks to go see over there. Go see Chris Lugo at BAMMC.com. You can make your appointment right there. Italiano Insurance, the Gold and Diamond Source, Extravaganza Productions, and American Mortgage Services. Thanks to all our sponsors. Back in 3.
Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by. Never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com.
During COVID, over 1.7 million people were added to the Florida Medicaid rolls, but as of April 1st, 2023, most of these people may not be eligible for the Medicaid coverage and will lose their health plan. If you have been notified you are losing your coverage, don't freak out. It's very likely you can apply for a federal subsidy under the Affordable Care Act. Just call 877-652-0244. Our representatives will walk you through the whole process, get some basic information on your income, number of kids, and then they'll find a plan that best fits your needs. In fact, with the new laws, 90% of Americans qualify for reduced or free health care. You can select great plans like Florida Blue, that's my carrier, love them, paying $800 left after making the call. 877-652-0244. Our highly trained professionals know all the intricacies of the new laws. They will do all the work. You save tons of money. So if you're being dropped from Medicaid, fear not. Call 877-652-0244. Get real health insurance, free doctor visits, free blood work, no deductibles. 877-652-0244.
Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa. And for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio, visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Extravaganza Productions. Just heard the spot right there. If you're looking for some folks to help you out with a party or a convention you're doing or a charity event, just go to their website, extravaganzaproductions.com, or Google them, and they will give you a free creative strategy session. Just call them up, tell them you heard it on the JP Show, and they'll give you a tour through their incredible warehouse where they have like all these props, just incredible stuff out there. So whatever the theme, or you don't even know the theme, they'll throw some at you. Have a great creative meeting with Paul Thomason and his crew over there, and they will hook you up. That's Extravaganza Productions. Well, it's been quite an extravagant production for the Lightning over the last few years, and really, when you look at the breadth of the first 30 years of this franchise, there's not many that have come along that have been able to put up 3 cups the way the Lightning have and have the success they've had, and not to mention that it's in Tampa Bay, Florida, right? That it happened in the Sunshine State, where some of these original 6 teams like Toronto and Philly and so many of these other teams have struggled to put together Montreal Cup-winning teams. The Lightning have been able to do it and especially get to the conference finals in an incredible way. So we're going to do our top 5 moments in Lightning history, and we got some sound for you as well. So we might as well kind of go chronologically. And, one of the ones that I was not here for this, I just missed it because I got here in 97, was 1996 when the Lightning went to the playoffs for the first time. And they did it when they were playing over at Tropicana Field, which was known as the Thunderdome at that time. And they put in, 28,183 against the Flyers, and went on to win, I think, game 3 or 4. They had game 3 and 4. Both of them got over 28,000. And the record still stands as the biggest crowd in NHL playoff history. So that's a pretty big moment for this franchise. I wasn't here, but I remember watching the games on TV and going, wow, something special might be brewing there in Tampa.
That's amazing. 1996, where there was still the stigma, I'm assuming, of the Southern market having a hockey team.
Oh, unheard of.
And that team, in their 4th, 5th year of existence, whatever it was, puts 28,000 in that place for a playoff game. Ooh.
Yeah, and it was, from those who have covered it, it was loud, and it was fun. So for those of you who remember that, and I think they played, 2 seasons there in the Thunderdome before the Ice Palace opened in, 1998, I think, maybe the Ice Palace opened, or is it earlier than that? I'm not exactly. I think that's about when it did. Yeah, and then the Lightning at that time, ownership was
96.
96. They went into the Ice Palace.
It says it opened in 96.
Yeah. So it was the year after they had the big crowds at the Thunderdome. Of course, the Lightning were birthed in Expo Hall, and the great stories with that, where they got the NHL inspection team came in to make sure they had 200 feet of ice, and Espo had them push back the bleachers far enough where they could get to 200 feet, and then as soon as he was gone, they moved them back. The rink was not quite long enough, but they had 10,000. I've been to Expo Hall. I wasn't there that night, but I've been to Expo Hall, and I'm like, how the hell did they play hockey in here? Like, how in the hell did they play a National Hockey League game in here? let alone a couple of seasons they played there.
Yeah. I don't know how they did it, but I think it was the first game, right, that everybody remembers.
Yeah.
Where Chris Conto scored 4 goals against the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yes.
Inside the building where I graduated high school in, which every time I go in there, I think about the Lightning, and I'm just like, wait a second, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
How did they play hockey in this thing? But they did. Awful.
So let's go back and go down memory lane. This was one. So I got a chance to. This is when I was working at Channel 8, and we followed the Lightning on the 2004 journey all the way. Went to Montreal. Where did we go? The Islanders, and then Calgary for the final. So we're out in Calgary, and they had this thing called the Red Mile, right, where all the fans went out on the streets, kind of their main street down there. Tops off for Kippersoff. That was the big thing. The girls, just you walk down the Red Mile and yell tops off for Kippersoff, and the girls would flash you. I heard. I didn't. That's just urban myth, but it happened. So the Calgary was going bananas. They lead the series 3-2, and I remember we walk into the arena. And I mean, their tailgates, people everywhere, just 3-4 hours before the game, in the old Saddle Dome. I don't know if they still play there, but the old Saddle Dome looked like a saddle. And we walk in, and there's the cup right there. The cup is right there. It's open. It's on display, and these people are just going bananas. I'm like, oh my God, the Lightning. Do they even have a chance to win this? All of Canada is pulling for Calgary tonight. The cup is in the house. A Canadian team hadn't won since Montreal in 96 or 92, I think. 93, yeah.
Which still stands.
Still stands. So this was the moment. And there was a play earlier in the game where Hobby Bullen makes a save, and they had to replay it, but it was not a goal. It was not a goal.
Don't tell that to Calgary fans.
Yeah, there's a famous picture taken from center ice, okay? That goes back towards the goal. And the puck is in the air, and you can see the line. So with the puck being in the air, it looks from that vantage point like it's in, but it's not. If you looked at it down the line, it did not go in. So enough of that. But in 33 seconds into the second overtime, and my photographer and I, Bob Hansen, are walking down to our live shot spot because we're going to have to go live, but maybe before the game ends. And, so they dropped the puck. I said, let's watch a little bit here, first couple shifts before we go outside. And sure as shit, Marty St. Louis on the rebound. Here's Gary Thorne calling it for I believe ABC Sports at the time. Or not.
Game 7, Martin St. Louis. We are going back to Tampa Bay. 33 seconds into the double overtime.
His first shot of the game, gets the rebound, put it up top.
You want to try that again? Or is that all we got?
Did you miss it?
I heard. I missed the first.
My bad about that. Let me play it again for you here. Let me go back to the front here.
The hit on. Leopold in the corner, got it out of there. Moved it up the wall. Tullamore went down. Taylor the shot. Redirected. Score! Game 7! Martin St. Louis! We are going back to Tampa Bay! 33 seconds into the double overtime.
That man, the juice just evaporated out of that building. You can hear the Lightning players celebrating. Great call by Gary Thorne, by the way. Gary Thorne.
Miss Gary Thorne, man.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Thorne is like the GOAT of hockey announcers, the GOAT.
Yeah. Some might argue that. But, yeah, Doc Emmerich was what people would say.
He doesn't hold the candle to Gary Thorne. I'm sorry.
Gary Thorne was pretty damn good. It's hard to beat that call right there. That was fantastic. And so, there we were. Shocked as ever, and we went down and we were doing our live shots, and I told my news director a couple days prior that he needed to get security because if they won the cup or the Lightning won that game, there were going to be some angry fans, and boy, there were. Thank God we got some security. So we were doing our live shots, just probably 10 minutes after that goal goes in. I'm going on live at the top of the 11 for News Channel 8, and and people are walking by just yelling obscenity. It was, it was terrible. But then it was just like, hey, get on the plane, get back here, games. And for the team, it was the same thing. Andrew Chuck tells the stories of how they partied that night. They had a nice little party that night, and then got on the plane and went back. And of course, I guess I would have to call this. I mean, you could maybe look at some of the other moments of this, this run, but to me, the 04 Game 7 that night, I remember where Stacy Scheibel and I were on a scissor lift on Thunder Alley above the crowd, and there was no open spots. I mean, and then we took the Eagle 8 shot from above, and all the streets were shut down. There had to be 50, 60, 100,000 people around Amalie Arena. I don't know how many there were, but it was just a sea of people. When they took the overhead shot, I was like, oh my God, it's just people everywhere. And it was unlike, of course, remember before the Bucs won the Super Bowl in Tampa, they never, the Bucs won their first one, obviously, in San Diego. So this was the first championship they actually won on home soil. And I remember watching it from the Zamboni spot, and the last few seconds, and that save that Hobby Boulin makes with the right pad, I'll never forget, with about 3 seconds to go, because Andrew Chuck's coming out of the box. The place is going wild with 2 or 3 seconds to go. It's like the game's over. It was 2-1, and he had to make this save or we're going to overtime. But here's the call by Dave Mishkin, 2004, the Stanley Cup Championship.
Left, puck loose in the far corner. Leopold lays it in front. Oh, Happy Ball knocks it away. 1 second left. A shot. Right there. It's over. It's over. Stanley Cup. Tampa Bay. Yes. The Lightning has won the Stanley Cup. The Lightning has won the Stanley Cup. How does this sound? The Stanley Cup champion, Tampa Bay Lightning.
What a call by Mish.
The music behind it there. That's off the 2004 documentary that they sold that I have still on DVD. I got nothing to plug it into or throw it into, but I got it on DVD still, and that was the music they added to it. Just fantastic call. And for Dave and for Phil Esposito, imagine that feeling for him to try to convince everybody to give Tampa Bay an expansion team, and then in 12 years to see it get there. And that's what I was going to bring up real quick, like for how crazy this run was. Like, if you look at the Lightning before that run, from 1997 to 2002, listen to how many points they put up in those seasons: 44, 47, 54, 59, 69. And then they get the year next where they won the division finally and then went home in the second round and then the Stanley Cup. It was that quick.
Wow.
It was that quick. I dare you to find something like that's ever happened in NHL history, a team that goes from literally the bottom of the barrel that quickly to winning a Stanley Cup and having that roster assembled.
In covering that team, I would have to say, obviously, the addition of Andrew Chuck and Daryl Sador as well, I believe, on the blue line. Were the huge additions. I mean, they had firepower with Vinny and Marty and Brad. Fedotenko had a great playoff. He had 12 goals in the playoffs and had the 2 goals in Game 7.
And if I recall, they made a trade for Fedotenko the year prior where I believe they traded a first-round pick and a pretty high one to get him and Brad Lukowicz in the building.
Yeah.
And that was a move at the time where I think people looked at it like, wow, you're trading that high of a pick for Ruslan Fedotenko. But I mean, if you recall, especially in that Phillies series, Fedotenko couldn't stop scoring.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he was tremendous. Freddie Modine, Corey Stillman was there for a year. I think that's the Corey Stillman was second on the Lightning in points that season behind Mark. We forget about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that team was just Pavel Kabina, Dan Boyle. I mean, just completely loaded.
Yeah, it was a great team, but the guy that put it all together was Torts. Torts, he was special. He was really, really special. And I don't know if there's another coach that would have been able to get that out of these guys. And, and specifically Vinny Lecavalier. I mean, he and Torts went at it forever, and Torts took the C off his chest. That's not something that's a pushing all your chips in, right? I mean, this is the star of your team. This is your transcendent star, Vinny LeCavalier, your number one pick, all that, and you're gonna take the C off his chest. That's going all in, and it worked. And it worked. He got the best out of Vinny, and that was, to me, he was the glue. He was the glue. He was the force. Shut your yap. Took the pressure off his team. Took it and put it all on him. He was a special coach in that moment. He was a perfect man for that particular team at that particular time. Yeah,
and also every great team needs a great goaltender. And,
yes.
I think everybody, we love Jay Feaster. He built so much of that team, but
yep.
I don't think we give enough credit to who came before him, and that was Rick Dudley, who really kind of made he's the one, I believe, that drafted Vinny and found Brad. Marty St. Louis, and you can call it luck all you want, but he found that cast-off from Calgary, who went on to be, for a while, and some people might still say, the best player of this franchise in this franchise's history. And then he made a trade at the time that I don't think was a big one, which was landing Nikolai Habibulin. And imagine them without Habibulin. You can't. So I think the combination of those two, Rick Dudley and Jay Feaster, meant a lot to the construction of that team.
I would agree. It's a great point. All right, we got to take another break. Quick break. When we come back, we're going to take you back in the Wayback Machine one more time to that night, June 7th, 2004. We'll take you into the locker room, the dressing room of the Lightning, and I had a chance to chat with Nikolai Habibulin and Dave Andreychuk. So quick break. We'll have that for you when we come back here on our special edition Lightning theme show. Stay with us.
This is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz, the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com.
Let's go. Right now. Back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to our special edition of the JP Peterson Show as we relive some of the great memories in Lightning history. We've already talked about this team and what their expectations are and how they look going forward. So if you missed any of that, just back it up on the podcast and enjoy the open here where we talked about this year's team. But we're going in the Wayback Machine now, and I went and found this one, Nick, as we were talking about that Game 7 in 2004, June 7th. So this is after the game. I'm doing the post-game interviews down right outside the Lightning dressing room, and I'm like, I got to get Dave Andreychuk. And what you'll hear, it cuts off, but because it's kind of an edited piece here. So we'll just listen to this. This is myself. I think you'll hear the great Rod Carter in there, Stacy Scheibel, and myself with David Andreychuk and Nikolai Habibulin. So let's roll this one.
And out in the middle of the crowd right now is Jen Lee. Actually, we're going to go to JP first. He is the guy who's been waiting 22 years for this cup, Dave Andreychuk. JP?
Yeah, thank you, Stacey. Dave Andreychuk is here. He just had about 50 family members go through. He said he may have lost money on this series. Dave, just your emotions right now. I saw you hold the cup up. What were you thinking right then?
First of all, I wasn't thinking about not dropping it. But, obviously I was so proud of my teammates, the way that they've worked all year long. And I remembered back to my first year in the league. It was a long time ago now, but it's taken a long road. But I could have never imagined the way I'm feeling right now. It's totally awesome.
And you were just pointing at this. I'm thinking, see this?
That's out of there.
It's the Calgary symbol.
I'm gonna get in trouble for that, I can tell you. All right, guys, thanks very much. Nikolai Habibulin, the greatest goalie in the world. I think we can say that right now. What was this series like? What was the final 10 minutes like for you tonight?
Well, it probably was the longest 10 minutes in my life, but we won the game, so I was very happy for the whole team, especially for Dave.
Yeah, Bolts have won the Stanley Cup. It's right there on the Tampa Tribune. Extra is out already. Praise the cup. Indeed. Let's go back out to the hockey rink and find out what's happening out there.
I think we cut it right there. That's the dulcet tone, great Bob Height right there, and Keith Kate, who's still with the News Channel 8. I think we went to like 2 in the morning that night, just doing interviews with everybody. It was a tremendous night. I'll never forget it. As a broadcaster, just so to be able to do that interview with Dave, and we had a little monitor there, so I said right after that piece you heard, I said, but I don't think you've seen this yet, but this is you skating with the cup. And he was just like watching it, and he was speechless, and he started, tearing up, and he's like, man, that's seeing it like that is jarring for him. And what a journey it was, 22 years.
What was it, 20 you 22 years, right? You just said it there. 22 years he had to wait to get that opportunity. Yeah. And he had to watch it in the penalty box. Oh my goodness.
In the penalty box. I think he got out with like when Habibulin was making that save. But yeah, they were had the man advantage, and it was not a good time to take a penalty.
No, and also too, you talk about the save at the end, but the one that there was like 3 or 4 minutes left too that he made on Jordan Leopold, where there was the shot from one side, and then he didn't control the rebound very well, and it went right out to Leopold. And I want to say it might have been Kubina who was like diving in front of him too, and it hit it. It's somehow, like he said, it just kind of hit me. He was like, "Just please hit me." Yeah. And it did, and it was just those big saves down the stretch. I mean, I've heard him talk about that. Like 10 minutes felt like it was like an hour of them having to play that game.
Crazy. Couple other favorite moments. Let's do the Michigan call on the game-winning goal as time expires in the 2015 playoffs against the Canadians. Tyler Johnson's greatest moment as a Tampa Bay Lightning. Let's check that out.
5 seconds left. Across the blue line, right circle. Palat, left circle, Hedman holds. In front, Johnson. Score! Unbelievable! Unbelievable! It counts! The Lightning are going to win this game! Tyler Johnson at the buzzer!
Is there anybody better in the game than Dave Michigan? Oh my God!
I know everybody that's not in this market cannot stand his voice, and I'm shame on you. I'm so sorry that you don't get to live vicariously through these calls. And I remember this happened actually on my birthday. This was on May 6th in 2015, and I was watching this game at Ivaroni's. If you've been to Ivaroni's before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you been to Ivaroni's? Yeah, I was watching the game there, and that happened. And I was listening actually to it on the way home on the radio. So I heard this call live, and I got goosebumps hearing it then. I got goosebumps there. And, similar to how we talked last week about, the 1999 Bucks team that felt like the team that could have won.
Yeah.
And that 2015 team. And I don't know if it was because I went to every watch party that year with my friends, and we were still in high school, and we would show up wearing Lightning gear like every day to school. It was so exciting. And I thought that was the team, man. That team gave me a feeling that even the 2020 and 2021 teams didn't even give me a feeling of. That one had it all.
Well, that was the year that they were against Chicago. I thought they were going to win it, and then Bish got hurt. Remember that?
That killed it when Bish got hurt.
And he came way out of his net, and he collided with the defenseman. Was it Hedman?
It was Hedman.
Yeah. And Bish was playing out of his mind. And that was the moment. And then that was also the moment that Vasilevsky
got his first
taste. And he played really well. But
he did.
A lot to ask.
That was the last team that Chicago had that was really great. So you had to give them credit. But remember when they went up 2-1, and I believe it might have been Hedman that scored that overtime winner in Game 3 to get them to go 2-0 up, and I thought they were going to win that series. And then lo and behold, they didn't win a single game after that, unfortunately. But that was also the year we had the birth of the triplets with Kucherov, Point, and Palat. Kucherov, Palat, and Johnson.
Yeah.
And that line, that was when Tyler Johnson, he was the best triplet. At that time, he was the best triplet. That was a 24-year-old Steven Stamkos, a very young. That was like a 22-year-old Victor Hedman. Yeah. That team had it all. I thought that was the one that got away from me. That's the one that got away.
I think if Bish stays healthy, we win that series.
Maybe.
I really do. That was a hell of a team. But obviously you got to go through the fires to get to that cup. That's what makes it so hard. All right, couple more I want to get to. Let's do Michigan's call of Stamkos' 500th goal from this past season. Another great call by Mish.
Battle on the far boards. Killorn comes up with it, taps it up the middle for Cirelli. Back for Killorn in the left wing, and again Cirelli. Anthony Cirelli across the blue line, left circle Killorn as Stamkos open in front for Stamkos. Score! There it is! Number 500! Steven Stamkos! He has done it! The Lightning players storm off the bench to congratulate Steven Stamkos. Steven Stamkos, 500 goals.
That was, remember how long did it take? It felt like about 10 or 11 games.
It was a long time. He might have been grabbing the stick a little bit there during that stretch where it looked like he could not buy a goal for a little bit. But finally got the monkey off his back over there in Vancouver. And again, 500 goals. When you say that out loud, it's still insane to me. I think that's the benchmark still of when it comes to goal scorers in the NHL, how many goals you scored in your career, 500. Yep. And the scary part is if he didn't have injuries, we'd be looking at 600 plus right now with Steven Stamkos. But 500 as it is, incredible career.
Pretty damn good. All right, let's do one more to run out of time a little bit here. And this is my favorite moment for the Steven Stamkos career, and maybe in this run, was his goal against Dallas. He missed all 21 games of the playoffs. The captain couldn't. He was trying. We heard he's trying to get back. He's trying to get back. Might be this game. Might be that game. Finally, he pays $247, 2 shifts maybe against the Stars. But this was a big goal, and it's one of those moments that you can't believe it. But it happened, and here's the call by Mesh.
Agilov at center ice, deals it in. Ruda pokes it out to Victor Hedman. Cross ice, Stamkos down the right wing. Cross the blue line, right circle. Stamkos open. Shoot, score! Stamkos! And it's 2-0 Lightning!
Look at the players going crazy for Steven. That is unbelievable.
I was like, he's coming down the side. I'm like, shoot the puck. And you're like, and then he shot it and went in, and you're like, no way. That may have been the first time he touched the puck.
And what did he tore something. He re-injured himself, or he tore something on that little skate right there. So he literally did that with whatever it was. It's been so long now, I forgot the exact injury. I mean, just talk about gutsy right there. And that was the moment where it was like, yeah, we're winning the series. We're winning the series. My captain just gave me that moment. That's it.
That was it. And then, of course, they win back-to-back. They raise the banner without the – or not raise it, but they show the banner when they come back the next season. Nobody in the building. And then finally we get a Stanley Cup where everybody was in the building and the guys get to skate with the cup on their own ice. I mean, what a run it's been. What a run it's been. And, ESPN naming the Lightning the best franchise in North America by their metrics where they do fan appreciation and all that stuff, economics. And it's a class organization. Jeff Minnick, the best owner in all of sports. I think we all can agree with that. It's been an incredible run, and it's not over. It's not over, folks. I think this team has a great chance to get back into it. I mean, you get into the tournament, anything can happen. If you're healthy at that particular time, and they've got the experience. They know what it takes to win the cup. And, folks, I cannot underscore that enough. That is something that a lot of teams don't have, and you got to go through the fire to get to the other side. And this team has it. And I'm bullish on them. I think they have an excellent chance this year, and I think even for a few years to come, this core is going to be together. They need to add a couple special parts maybe. It's a couple of guys, as we mentioned at the beginning, need to step up, and Nick Paul and Tanner Jeannot, but I think they have as good a shot as anybody. So we'll see. All right, thank you guys for watching and listening. Our special edition here of the Tampa Bay Lightning, present and past. And join us tomorrow for another edition of the JP Peterson Show. Have a great day, everybody.